We're going to do a little talk here with Kimberly Messer from You Can Play. I'm Chelsea Purcell. I'm the GM of the Markham Thunder. This is Kimberly Messer. She was the one doing the puck drop tonight. She's with the You Can Play organization. Just going to tell us a little bit more about their mission and their goals with the group.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here tonight. This is my first Markham Thunder game, so I'm pretty excited. So it's pretty exciting hockey. I just want to take a couple of minutes to share a little bit about You Can Play and the important work that we do. At You Can Play, we aim to ensure the safety and inclusion of everyone that plays sports, and especially LGBTQ athletes, coaches, and fans. We believe that the most important aspects of an athlete should be their commitment, their talent, their skill, and not their sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. We have been around since 2012. You may not know the story of how we were founded, so I'll just tell you very quickly. Patrick Burke, who's the current Senior Director of Player Safety in the NHL, and of course the son of Brian Burke, the former General Manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and also Brian Kitts and Glenn Whitman, came together in 2012 to create You Can Play in memory of Brian Burke's son, Brandon, who was killed in a car crash in 2010. He was an avid hockey fan and player and involved with the hockey community, and he had come out as gay just prior to his death, and he had begun advocating and trying to create a more inclusive culture in hockey just prior to his tragic death. So You Can Play was created as a way of carrying on his legacy and helping to continue the important work in creating greater inclusion in sports.
Awesome, thank you. So You Can Play is doing some amazing things around the globe. Can you share some examples that they're doing in professional sports, universities, colleges, and even youth sports?
All right, just a few quick things. So we do a lot of really important work, and our primary focus is education and awareness. So we do this through a number of avenues. I'd say the first one, and probably one of the sexiest pieces, is our relationships with professional athletes and professional sports leagues. So we do a lot of work through public service announcements and partnering with various leagues to help change hearts and minds, not only with the players and teams, but also with the fans who support those teams. So we are one of the only LGBTQ organizations that has a relationship with nearly every professional sports league in North America. So we have very important strategic partnerships with the NHL, the NHL Players Association, Major League Soccer Players Association, NFL, and others. And so those relationships are extremely important to the work that we do. Other ways that we affect change, and again, hope to change hearts and minds, is the work that we do with university and colleges and youth programs. So we hold workshops and trainings and panels, similar to talks like we're doing here tonight, to help raise awareness. We also do videos. We have a lot of universities, colleges, athletes all over North America who do videos for us, and we promote those on our website and through social media. And usually those are messages of support around inclusion, because as you know, our organization is called You Can Play. We believe that if you can play, you can play, regardless of your sexual orientation and gender identity. Just really quickly, a couple of other ways that we execute in the community is that we also do policy work with a lot of organizations. Some of you may, in the last few years, have seen on the latest sports news an athlete who may have made an inappropriate comment on camera, perhaps a homophobic slur. We find that You Can Play is often called in to help work with those teams. We see it as an opportunity for education. It's never about shaming and blaming someone. Very often it's just a case of helping to educate that individual and use it as an opportunity to help affect positive change. And the last way is Pride Nights. Many of you may, given that we're in the Toronto area, I'll just let you know that the Toronto Raptors have their Pride Night coming up January 31st, next week. I believe it's against the Milwaukee Bucks, so it'll be a really good game. And we also have our Hockey is for Everyone night with the Toronto Maple Leafs, February 25th. And just looking ahead to Pride Month, I'll just tell you now that the Toronto Blue Jays Pride Night is June 6th. followed immediately by the Toronto FC Pride Night on Friday, June 7th. So please mark those in your calendars. So those are some of the important ways that we engage with the community.
Awesome. Okay, so speaking of You Can Play's mission, why is it so important to the context of Canadian sport and hockey in particular?
So I do a lot of work in inclusion with IBM. I'm really fortunate to be able to help companies kind of move forward in their inclusion journeys. And I think in general, the Canadian population and living in Canada, we tend to underestimate the importance of this work. We live in one of the most progressive countries in the world, and certainly when it comes to LGBT inclusion, certainly one of the safest. And but that does not mean that there's still not a lot of work to do. And I wanted to just take really quickly just share a few, I think, really impactful statistics which really emphasize why the work that You Can Play does is so important. So a recent study of 10,000 athletes, so these are athletes, gay, straight, and everything in between, by out in the fields, and I'm just going to share just a handful of statistics. 81% of participants have witnessed or experienced homophobia in sports. 66% believe an openly gay person would not be very safe as a spectator at a sports event. And for those of you who are parents in the room, this one might be a little bit more alarming for you. The most likely location to be a target of homophobia is as a spectator in the stands or in school phys ed class, gym class. And the last one, most believe sports are more homophobic than the rest of society. So that's why the work that You Can Play does is so important. And if you really put those numbers in the context of hockey and how important hockey is to Canadian society and Canadian culture, I think we can really recognize this and take this as an opportunity to affect change, given that so many of our youth are involved in hockey. And this is an opportunity to really help change the culture of sport. Awesome. Thanks, Kim. It looks like we should probably get back out there, cheer on the last period of our game. Thanks, Kim, for doing that talk. Everyone put their hands together. Thank you.